Welcome. My name is Grandma Storm. I write stories for young adults. Today I am reading chapters 41 through 45 in my book, 146 BC. Chapter 41. Naomi paced the floor as Nkosi was ushered into her presence. Where is Sunatus? Where is Barak? How is it that you appear before me alone? Nkosi dropped to his knees before Naomi. Hasdrubal, began Nkosi, bargained to save the city by buying time with the lives of her people. He sold 50,000 men, women, and children into slavery to the Romans. Nkosi slipped away in the confusion. Hasdrubal, spat Naomi. Snake, monster, demon. Get to the point, Nkosi. Where is Sunatus? Where is Barak? My lady, continued Nkosi, you must bear one more burden. Then Nkosi will go. What do you mean, go? I deliver the final word of my lord Sunatus. He sends his love to you and Lady Deborah, and instructs you to sail for the new villa in Iberia. I fulfill my duty. I return to my people. The house of Sunatus is no more. Naomi crumpled to the floor. Mara ran to her mistress, helped her to a couch, and offered her a cup of wine. Naomi pushed it away. Mara, leave us. As Mara left, Naomi beckoned to Nkosi to come to her. With hushed voice and trembling hands, she begged, Tell me, I order you to withhold nothing. Tell me all. When Nkosi told her Hasdrubal ordered the crucifixion of Sunatus and Barak as sacrifice to Melkart, Naomi's screams echoed through the sun-washed villa. What is wrong? Ruth, take me to mother. Before Ruth could get Deborah to her feet, Mara rushed into the room, her face ashen. Mara, demanded Deborah, tell me what is happening. We are doomed, doomed. What will become of us? Stop it, Mara, commanded Deborah. Tell me what is wrong. Mara continued her inconsolable ranting, beating her chest and wailing. Oh, she is useless. Ruth, get me on my feet and take me to mother. With Ruth's support, Deborah limped to her mother's apartments. Household slaves hung their heads as they passed. Hercules hurried toward them with Torn at his side. My dear, said Hercules to Deborah, we must be brave. Your mother will need us to be strong. What has happened? Wailed Deborah. Rome, declared Torn. It can be nothing less than the destruction of Carthage. They found Naomi slumped under the couch. When Deborah entered the room, her mother rose on shaky legs. Nkosi was gone. Daughter, you are all that is left to me in this world. Your father and brothers are dead. Deborah collapsed beside her mother. The two clung to each other as they wept. Come, said Hercules to Ruth and Torn. The house of Sunatus is in mourning. Let us lead them to their tears. Once returned to Hercules' study, the three talked of the demise of the house of Sunatus. Ruth asked, why did not Jehovah protect them? On this side of the grave, said Hercules, not all is understood. Let these words of Jehovah, recorded by Isaiah the prophet, comfort us. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. This is a matter for Jehovah alone. Only He knows why this suffering is permitted. It is our part to acknowledge that He is God, and that is enough. Chapter 42. Wrapped in his gray wool shawl, leaning on his stick, Hercules watched his beloved Naomi walk her way into the future. Her thinking was always powered by kinetic pacing. Action was her cure. Movement was her compulsion. By day, she battled crippling grief by throwing herself into the work of the estate. Laboring to the verge of collapse brought her a macodium of peace. Every evening, Naomi and Hercules met in the courtyard overlooking the harbor. She paced, he talked. Discussing the potential for each scenario, for good or ill, was examined to the point of exhaustion. Hercules knew she was ready to decide when she stopped in mid-stride, turned, and faced him. One final time, Hercules, murmured Naomi. All the discussion distills to 3 clear choices, reviewed Hercules as he watched her eyes. Stay. No one runs this estate better than you. Or go, return to Egypt. Your brother yet lives. He will care for you and Deborah. Or there is, as Senatus said in his final breath, Iberia. This estate is too close to Carthage, declared Naomi as fire flashed in her eyes. I believe Egypt is fated to die by the terrible power of Rome as well. Alexandria is too rich a prize to be ignored. Senatus wanted us to go to Iberia. The stewards from the new farms send positive reports. I have decided we will go there. Deborah and I will begin a new life in a new land. The problem is, added Hercules, how to get there. Rome has frightened all ships away. Let us pray for a way of escape, murmured Naomi. The next Sabbath, a small Phoenician ship came to the harbor. The estate steward greeted the captain at the dock. The man said he was anxious to sell olive oil. The steward hurried to inform Naomi. She was not interested in the oil, but she was interested in the ship. Tell him I will see him in the morning. Naomi was up before dawn. As the sun rose, she and the steward went to the harbor. Where are you bound, Captain? Naomi inquired. I sail for Gaul. Would you take passengers to Iberia? I have a villa just south of Ampères. That port is not far from my course. Who are the passengers? Myself, my daughter, and several slaves. My lady, my ship would be graced by your presence, but she is not a pleasure craft. All I can offer is an open deck. At the most, I can take 5, maybe 6 passengers. I am heavy laden with amphora. It will not be a pleasant passage. I am short of able-bodied crew as it is. I will buy oil to lighten your ship. What will be your charge for passage? A price much lower than Naomi expected was negotiated. The captain limited the passengers to 6. Naomi also requested space for several trunks in a cabin for herself and Deborah. The estate carpenter was put to work constructing a small shelter. It was agreed to sail in a fortnight. That night, Naomi talked with Hercules. I am allowed 6. Whom shall I take? He took her hand. Since you were a child, you have entranced this old Greek. I could not bear to part with my brightest student. Allow me to pack my scrolls and sail with you. He added with a wry grin, maybe they need a library in Iberia. I am honored, Hercules, replied Naomi as she took the old man's hand. You are my faithful counselor and lifelong guide. Without you, I do not know. Here the indomitable Naomi pressed Hercules' hand to her eyes and allowed tears to flow, then continued, Deborah, you and Mara are all I have left of those I love. Mara is old and useless, but I owe her the very life of my one remaining child. If she will come, I will take her as well as you. That is 4, said Hercules. The captain is lighting us passage for 6. Let us ask Deborah. I suspect she will want the girl Ruth. She helped Deborah to walk when the doctors and their potions failed. She is a good maid, useful. She is also a living link to Malchus and Barak, for she saw them through journeys of rough seas. I also think Torn would be a good choice. He is a man of the sea. He is strong and bold. Over the months, I have learned to trust him. You will need more than an old Greek to protect you, and the captain has need of a sailor. Deborah was consulted. She did want Ruth. She also wanted her cats and her couch and her many gowns. You are spoiled, said Naomi to her daughter. I will give you 1 trunk. That is the extent of what you may take. Deborah pouted, but the mixed emotions of leaving the only place she had ever known, plus the excitement of sailing to a new country, left her breathless. When Ruth learned she was to accompany Deborah, she rejoiced. Jehovah was taking her closer to home. When Mara was told, she was frantic and useless for the rest of the day. When Torn was told he was to serve as a sailor, he nodded but offered no comment. Chapter 43. Deborah and Ruth leaned against the gunwale. Mara was fussing over something in the cabin. Hercules sat on a trunk containing his precious scrolls. Torn was working the sail for the captain. Naomi was pacing the deck as if walking would make the ship go faster. When I crossed the waters, said Ruth, the ship was caught in a terrible storm. We have been several days on the open water. All is going well, yet I worry. Deborah looked at the sea and the sun and said, let us pray that we will have a safe and speedy voyage. She watched her mother for a while and commented, oh, although I think Mother plans on walking to Iberia. Deborah lifted her hands to heaven and prayed, may it be your will, Jehovah, our God, and the God of our fathers, that you should lead us in peace, and direct our steps in peace, and guide us in peace, and support us in peace, and cause us to reach our destination in life, joy, and peace. Save us from every enemy and ambush, from robbers and wild beasts on the trip, and from all kinds of punishments that rage and come to the world. May you confer blessings upon the work of our hands and grant us grace, kindness, and mercy in your eyes and the eyes of all who see us. Bestow upon us abundant kindness and hearken to the voice of our prayers, for you hear the prayers of all. Blessed are you who hears our prayers. Does Jehovah hear the prayers of all? Ruth asked. Yes, affirmed Deborah. He made all, he hears all. The answer may not come when we want, but when he wills. I have prayed for years that I may walk. It was not until Jehovah sent you to me that he answered my prayer. I was sent to you? I believe so, smiled Deborah. On the other side of the small ship, the captain was conferring with his crew. We are halfway to Gaul, whispered the captain to his crew. At dawn, we execute my plan. The 4 men grumbled, nodded, and returned to their duties. Chapter 44. Mara was mumbling in her sleep again. Ruth woke up and realized Torn and Hercules were snoring. She would be glad when the voyage was over. Sleeping by herself was preferable to an open deck with old people. She turned her attention to the stars. Deborah said the heavens were Jehovah's way of declaring his glory. The stars were beautiful. Jehovah must be beautiful. Were Moore and Farr looking at the stars as well? Ruth yawned and turned on her side. That is when she noticed one of the crew near Naomi and Deborah's little cabin. He was jamming a stick into the door. Ruth pulled out her knife and kicked Torn awake. His eyes shot open and saw what Ruth saw. He jumped to his feet. He thought something like this would happen. He did not trust the captain. The next moment, two sailors attacked him. He roared, grabbed both by their throats, and slammed their heads together. Ruth stabbed the sailor closest to her. He screamed, and she stabbed him again. Torn threw the men over the side. Hercules was on his feet in an instant. Grabbing his cane, he jammed the end into the eye of the sailor. The man howled and clutched his face. Torn silenced him with a punch to the gut and a toss into the sea. Ruth swung around, put her back to Torn like she had seen Nkosi and Barak do when they were attacked by the farmers so long ago. Hercules joined them. Torn's fists, Ruth's knife, and Hercules' cane fought the remaining sailors. Mara woke to the fight and ran to Naomi's cabin. As she was yanking on the door, the captain grabbed her arm, twisted it, and slit her throat. Torn was tossing another limp sailor into the sea when Hercules was thrown to the deck. The sailor grabbed the old Greek by the throat, throttling him. Ruth stabbed the man in the back. The sailor roared, throwing the girl across the ship. Ruth lay still. For her, the fight was over. When Ruth awoke, she found herself in the cabin. Deborah was bathing her face with a wet cloth. She could hear voices and realize it was Naomi and Torn talking. She tried to sit up, but fell back. Rest, ordered Deborah. Mother says you are the bravest girl she has ever known. We won? Ruth murmured. Yes, but Mara is dead. The cowardly captain killed the old woman while his sailors fought you and Torn. Hercules? Asked Ruth, afraid to hear the answer. He is resting. I rejoice he is alive, sang Ruth. Yes, replied Deborah, and I praise Jehovah for his deliverance. Chapter 45. Ruth watched as Naomi and Deborah washed the corpse and wrapped it in cloth. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, the true judge, intoned Hercules in Hebrew over the body of Mara. What are they saying? Asked Torn in their shared Nordic tongue as he pulled on the sail. I don't know, replied Ruth. It must have something to do with Jehovah. Naomi orders me to get the ship to land as soon as possible. She wants to bury the old woman. What is wrong with just throwing her in the sea? I suppose it is not their way, replied Ruth. We honor our dead with a flame, asserted Torn, but only those that are worthy. He changed the subject and said, if we are going to get this ship to land, you need to serve as crew. Hercules is too old. Deborah is too weak. Naomi is too fine. I would not underestimate Naomi, countered Ruth. When Torn called for help with the sail, Naomi was the first to respond. All I see is water, shouted Naomi into the wind. How are you going to find land? The sun, the wind, the birds, the smell of land, the color of the waves, replied Torn. All these will show the way. Plus, I work these waters in the belly of a ship and know the sea all too well. 2 days later, land was sighted and the small ship made for shore. Thank you for listening. To hear more of the story, please come back soon, or you may purchase your own copy on Amazon. Just follow the link below. Until next time.